So last day we have seen half wave rectifier. Okay, so today another part of this half wave rectifier regarding the ripple factor. So this factor will give you the information how much AC has been converted to DC, whether there is any AC component left to convert in the DC output from this half wave rectifier. So this ripple factor is a measure of fluctuating component, how much fluctuating component is still left within the DC which has been converted. Okay, is given by the ripple factor, and it is denoted by R. So this R can be written as RMS value of alternating components of wave by average value of wave. Okay, so how much RMS value of alternating components still left comparing with the average value of the wave, means how much DC has been converted, and comparing to this how much AC has been left. So that is what the ripple factor all about. So this RMS, let us consider this is somewhat different which has been coming from the input given by some prime value, means it is a left out RMS value of the input which still needs to be converted, comparing with the DC which has been converted. Or we can also write with respect to voltage by VDC. So let us consider the instantaneous AC component of the current which has been left out, comparing with the input and the converted DC output. Is, let us consider this one is primed value, comparing with the how much input is there and how much has been converted. So this RMS value we can easily find out from this current. It is 1 by 2s pi integration 0 to 2s pi the left out value I minus IDC whole square d alpha to the power half. So we'll simplify this one and we'll take the integration. So if we simplify this one, it is coming out as I square minus twice IDC plus IDC square d alpha. So we know this IRMS, comparing if we take only the input, so that will be 1 by 2s pi integration 0 to 2s pi I square d alpha whole to the power half. This is the IRMS, original input, and IDC which we have been found, that is 1 by 2s pi integration 0 to 2 pi I d alpha, the average value. So we can put this value over here. Therefore IRMS prime, it is, if we consider this value over here, that will be IRMS square, then this twice I So that one will be another IDC, right? Because this integration, this will be under the integration 1 by 2s pi integration 0 to 2 pi twice I d alpha. So 2 will be as a constant and I, that one will be coming out as IDC. So that one will be IDC square, I RMS square minus twice IDC square, and this one is IDC. It is the normal value. IDC is the average value itself plus IDC square. Okay, so here if we do the integration, so 2s pi will get cancelled for this IDC square whole to the power half. So this one will get cancelled. So we are left out with I RMS square minus IDC square to the power half. Okay, so we are having our this primed value I RMS. Now we need to compare with the converted DC value. So therefore this ripple factor, if we put the value of I RMS, then this one will be the value, that is root over of I RMS square minus IDC square by IDC. We can further simplify this one as I RMS by IDC whole square minus 1. Now we can still able to simplify by taking the value of this I RMS and IDC for the half wave rectifier. So this value I RMS by IDC, we can use I RMS as Im by 2 and IDC as Im by pi. So that is pi by 2, which is 1.57. So if we use over here, so this ripple factor is root over 1.57 whole square minus 1, which is coming out as 1.21. Okay, so what this result indicate finally? This result indicate that the RMS ripple voltage exceeds the DC output voltage and shows that the half wave rectifier is relatively poor circuit for converting AC into DC. This result indicate that the RMS ripple voltage exceeds the DC output voltage, means the amount of DC which is get converted, it is quite lesser than the amount which is left out as a DC in the output, as a AC in the output. So after conversion, if we check the amount of DC which has been converted by using this half wave rectifier, the amount of AC which is left, it is quite more than the converted DC, and shows that the half wave rectifier, I am just writing as HWR, is relatively poor circuit for converting DC into AC. Converting DC into AC. So to expect somewhat better than this, to have somewhat better conversion, we are further proceeding towards the full wave rectifier. So first full wave rectifier circuit is center tapped full wave rectifier. So first circuit is our center tapped full wave rectifier. Okay. So first of all, I am just drawing the circuit diagram for this, then we will explain how this circuit operates. So for this center tapped full wave rectifier, it gives us the indication that it is having certain center tapping. So center tapping with respect to the transformer which has been used. So transformer is basically used in the half wave or full wave rectifier or rectifier to step down the voltage, because whenever we are having this conversion from AC to DC, you will find that we will have either 3 volt DC, 5 volt DC, 12 volt DC, 18 volt, 24 volt, something like that. But our household AC itself, it is having a voltage quite higher than this, like 220 volt, 230 volt, something like that. So this transformer is basically used to step down the voltage from this higher AC to a lower value. Okay, so we'll use a center tap transformer, means there is a connection is been taken out from the exact midpoint of the total wire which is been used as a turns in the secondary winding. So if we are having a 10 meter of wire which has been used for the secondary winding, it has been taken off exactly from the midpoint of the winding, that is from, let us consider it is from the 5 meter length, then we are supposed to have a connection which has been taken out, then the winding will still continue. So I am just drawing the circuit diagram. We obviously need to use a transformer. It is the primary winding where AC input has been given. Then we will be having the secondary winding. So obviously to have step down, our turn ratio will depends upon that. So for this center tap transformer, we have 2 diodes been used. So from the exactly from the midpoint, a tapping has been taken out or a connection has been taken out, which will be connected with the external load. This is our RL or load. From this we will take out the V output. Okay, so I hope every one of you having the idea how it works. So this step point is taken as a center point or a neutral point. So if for some cycle, let us consider we are having the input like this, and we are expecting certain output from this, that is V in, let us consider that is V out. So V out will be not at all exactly same as the peak value of the V in, somewhat. So for this case we are considering V in means the voltage across the secondary winding, because it has already get stepped down. So this step down voltage will be acting as the input for this full wave rectifier. So this center tap point and this, let us consider this is the point C and this point A and this point B. So you will find if we practically go with a center tap transformer, you will find that the same voltage rating has been written on the body of a transformer. So it is written something like that. For a 9 volt transformer it will be written something like that, 909. So what does it mean? If we compare or if we measure the voltage from this stepping point to another terminal of the transformer, you are supposed to find the 9 volt as well as another terminal which is available. If you measure the voltage from the center point, you will have the 9 volt. So the peak value comparing with the center tap point and the another terminal, it is having a same voltage which has been considered from the another terminal. So if we consider from this center tap point, if this voltage is somewhat Vm maximum, so obviously the another terminal it will have the same Vm. The center tap point is considered as a zero potential point. So from this point, if we measure the voltage to any of the terminal, it will have the same voltage if we measure at another terminal. So if this secondary winding having the peak value of 9 volt, so from this center tap point to the another terminal it will have the same 9 volt, and another terminal from this center tap point it will have the 9 volt. Okay, so for every cycle the potential of each of the terminal other than the center point, because the center point is having the zero potential, they have been changing their polarity. For some time this A point may become positive, then the B point will become negative, and another time if this A point become negative, this B point will become positive. So like this. So for first cycle, let us consider for this positive half, if this point A is positive, so this diode will work, because this diode will found the forward biasing. So the current will flow like this, from this like this, and it will go to the load. So in this way, this closed path will be achieved. Now for this, when this A point is positive, this B point obviously will be negative. So this diode, let us consider it is D1, it is D2. So this diode D1, for the first positive cycle, it will be closed circuit, and for this first positive cycle, it will be open circuit. So no current will flow along this diode D2. Now next, for the next cycle, when this half will arise, so this A point will become negative, this B point will become positive. So as this B point will become positive for this negative half of the input cycle, so this D2 will act as a closed circuit. So as a consequence, the current will flow in the opposite direction. So for this case, the current will flow like this, from this diode, then coming to the external load, then again terminating into the same, it is not the direction, you just neglect this part. So this current in the external circuit, either they have been flowing from this D1 or either they have been going from this D2. The current in the external circuit are always in the same direction. So for this D1, for this positive half, if the current has been flowing like this, and for the negative half, when this D2 is operating, the current will be flowing in the same path. So always the direction of the current flow in the external load, it is always in the same direction. Okay, so in this way this circuit operates. For the first half, this D1 will works considering the A point is having the positive polarity and this B point is having the negative polarity. So anything else may be possible. This B point may first get the positive polarity, this A point first get the negative polarity, so it will depend. So let us considering this A point is having the positive polarity, so D1 will work. So for the next half, as B point is getting positive polarity, so D2 will work, but the current is always in the same direction. So first the current will be flowing for this Vm which has been applied between this point A and C. The current is flowing, external load is fixed, the amount of current will be fixed. For the second half, this Vm will be applied between B and C, the current will be fixed and the load as it is fixed, the current is obviously fixed. So for the both case, the current is not at all changing, so the load will continuously having the same amount of current from this circuit. So as a consequence, we'll have the output. So if we look into the output, for each of the half will have the current in the same direction. If we have been considering V out means the load voltage, so for this one, if it is somewhat less than this, let us consider, so for this one also we'll have the same directed current, so again we'll have the another half. So this one will have the same thing, for this one will have the same output. So this one will be somewhat less considering some drop across the diodes, some drop because the internal resistance of the diode. So if it is there, so let us consider if it is Vm, so it is Vm prime, some value is get deducted. So this half is due to D1, this is for D2, this is for D1, it is for D2. So for this case D1 will conduct, for this case D2 will conduct, again D1, again D2. So in this way we are supposed to have the maximum output or the output which has been achieved from this center tap full wave rectifier. Okay. Now the important parameter, it is peak inverse voltage, PIV. So this PIV is the maximum possible voltage across a diode during its reverse biased condition. PIV is the maximum possible voltage across a diode during its reverse biased condition or reverse biased period. Now for the positive half of the input, the AC supply, the diode D1 is conducting, and let us consider it is not at all providing any resistance at all to the current which has been flowing through this diode D1. Thus this whole voltage, that Vm, this Vm is developed in the upper half of the AC supply, is provided to this load, because this D1, if we simplify this circuit, let us consider we are having two supply. I am just simplifying this one. We are having this one Vm which has been connected here. This is the tapping point. Then another Vm has been connected like this, because once it is positive, that one will be negative. Okay, so this D1, it is short circuited. So this is the load point has been taken out. So I am just simply drawing this load point. This is the value, and this one has been taken from this line which has been connected the open circuit D2. This is what D1, this is what D2 is. This is our RL. So this is the simplified one. Okay. So what is the voltage has been coming across this D2? That is the main thing to observe. So for this case, this RL has been coming, this Vm, if we consider this Vm, so most probably this will be having opposite polarity, because this is supposed to have the negative value here. So I have to write this one like this. Okay, this positive negative will become 0. So this is the positive, this is negative, this is positive, this is negative. So we need to find out what is the voltage has been coming across this D2. That's supposed to be the PIB for this D2. So as this D1 is short circuited, so we can think of that RL is having the same voltage as Vm. Now we need to take out what is the voltage has been coming across this D2. So if we further simplify this one, so we can think of this voltage source has been connected with same RL, or we can simply take out it is having a voltage of Vm across this R. Now what is the voltage is been coming out? Let us further simplify this one. So if we simplify this one, so we can think of something like this. Okay, this is our RL, this is another voltage source. Let us consider like this. It is having the open circuit point, means this is our D2, this is what somewhere is having short circuited D1, it is our RLS. So what is the voltage has been coming across this D2? So if we consider this point A and B, it is having the same voltage as Vm, because this RL has been connected as a parallel with this Vm. So VAB is having simply as Vm. Another Vm is there. So if we further simplify this one, so we can write this RL is having the voltage same as the Vm. Another Vm is connected here, and this is the open circuit point for D2. So one Vm is connected here, another Vm is connected here. So let us consider what is the voltage across D2. So if we rotate around this closed circuit, so we need to apply the KVL. So this is minus plus, we can take out any way. If we take out in the same way, then that will be the negative. So if we consider this one this D2, this part is positive, this part is negative, so we need to take out like this, positive, negative. So this is negative, positive, negative, positive, negative, positive. Okay, so the KVL if we apply, VD2, if we consider negative, positive, it is also negative, positive, so it will be Vm, then it is again negative, positive plus Vm, it is equals to 0. So what is the voltage across D2? That is minus of twice Vm. So minus of twice Vm means opposite polarity of the voltage is been coming across the D2, which is having the polarity of D2, original polarity of the D2. Means the positive side of the D2 is connected with the negative side. That's why negative voltage is appearing across D2 means it is in the reverse bias. So the total voltage which is appearing across D2, it is twice of Vm. Right? Any confusion on this? Anyone? This is the voltage which is been coming across this D2. So same way we can take out, similarly we can take out VD1 when D2 is conducting, it is minus of twice Vm. Or simply we can consider the PIV of D1, it is twice Vm, PIB of D2, it is twice Vm. That is all about. Okay, clear? Anyone having any confusion on this? This negative voltage indicating means that the opposite polarity of the power supply is been connected with the diode. Now in the same way we can take out for the half wave rectifier as well. So if considering this half wave rectifier, for your better understanding, the half wave rectifier, it is having a voltage source, it is our transformer, it is the diode, and this is the load RL. This is what our AC supply is. So let us consider this is Vm, because we don't need any center tap transformer. This is Vm. So we need to find out what is the voltage has been coming across this diode under reverse bias. So if we consider this is Vm, so under reverse bias means this is supposed to be the negative, this is supposed to be the positive under reverse bias. So when this part will be negative, if we simplify this circuit, it is negative, then positive, this diode will be open circuited, this is our RL. So across this RL or on this circuit, what will be the total voltage coming across these 2 points? So simply no current is flowing, so we can consider this is as a short circuit. This RL is get short circuited because no current is flowing on this open circuit path. So we can take out this one as simply open circuit point, and around this a voltage source is connected. This is what our Vm is, minus plus, this is what the polarity of the diode, that is plus minus. Let us consider this is Vd. So again if we apply KVL, minus plus minus plus, so minus plus if we consider plus, then it is, sorry, plus minus if we consider plus, then again plus minus Vd will be 0. So this Vd will be minus of Vm. So PIV of half wave rectifier is Vm, while this PIV for this center tap full wave rectifier, it is twice Vm. So still we have not analyzed for the bridge rectifier. Okay, clear? Any doubt, anyone? Now we need to analyze this full wave rectifier. So when we have been talking about the full wave rectifier, the analysis will be same for the center tap rectifier or this bridge rectifier. Why? Because the output will remain same. This output waveform will remain same. There will be no change. Output waveform will remain same in the sense the converted DC will remain same because it is having the full wave as a output. Either it is center tip transformer, either it is bridge rectifier. So let us analyze this full wave rectifier. So it is irrespective of center tip or bridge rectifier. So first of all we need to take out the peak current which has been available on the full wave rectifier. So the applied input which is available in the secondary of the transformer, secondary winding across the transformer, so that is the instantaneous value of the voltage applied to the rectifier, that is Vs is equals to Vm sin omega t. Now assuming the forward resistance of the diode is Rf and reverse resistance is infinity, the current flowing through the load RL, it is Im, maximum value of the current, it is Vm by Rf plus RL. That is what the peak current which is available in a rectifier circuit. Now output current. Output current means the converted DC value of the current. Now what we have seen, either it is diode D1 is conducting or D2 is conducting, the direction of the current flow across the load is same. Either it is in the conducting state of D1 or either it is in the conducting state of D2. So since the current is the same through the load resistance, RL, in the two halves, so what we have considered for the first half D1, for the second half D2 of the AC cycle, magnitude of DC current IDC, which is equal to the average value of AC current obtained by integrating I1 between 0 to pi and I2 between pi to twice pi, because we are having the current I1 when this D1 is conducting and it is in the RL. Let us consider this current is I1. This current which is been flowing, it is I1, and this current which is flowing during this conducting period of this D2, let us consider it is I2. So this D1, this I1 is available for 0 to pi, and I2 is available for pi to twice pi. Okay, so that's why while we have been taking the average, we need to take out I1 and I2 for the different two periods. So this IDC, which is the average value, it is 1 by pi 0 to pi I1 d alpha. They are same, these two are same. So what we need to consider? We need to consider the twice of them, right? We need to consider these two are same, so we can write this one as plus 1 by pi. It will be pi 2 twice pi I2 d alpha, right? So this I1, it is same as Im sin omega t. I2, it is also same as Im sin omega t. So 1 by pi 0 to pi Im sin alpha plus 1 by pi, it will be pi to twice pi Im sin alpha d alpha. So it will be coming out as twice Im by pi. The integration will be coming out as twice Im by pi. Next, RMS value of the current. So this one can be taken out as I RMS square is equals to 1 by pi 0 to pi I1 square d alpha. So it is same. We need to no need to consider the another half if we consider the first half, because it is same for the another half also. So by taking the average for this, that is sufficient. Taking the average, not average, the RMS value. So that one will be 1 by pi Im square sin square alpha d alpha. That will be coming out as Im square by 2. Therefore this I RMS, it is Im by root 2. So we are having all the components with us. Fourth one is output power or efficiency. Simply if we go with the efficiency, then we will take out the input power as well as output power. So this output means PDC, that is IDC square into RL, that is twice Im by pi whole square into RL, that is 4 by pi square Im square into RL. AC input, AC power input to the transformer, that is PAC is equals to power dissipated in the diode junction plus power dissipated in RL. So this PAC can be written as I RMS square into RF plus I RMS square into RL, or Im square by 2 into RF plus RL. So that is what our input power is. So if we do the comparison, we will have the efficiency. So this efficiency eta is PDC by PAC, that is 4 by pi square Im square RL, Im square by 2 RF plus RL. So 8 by pi square RL by RF plus RL. So we can take out the comparison here again. So 8 by pi square, just take out the value. 8 by pi square 1 by 1 plus RF plus RL. So just take out the value of 8 by pi square. This one will be 8.811 1 by 1 plus RF by RL. So same, if we consider this forward resistance is very small, eta max can be 81% or 81.1%. Maximum efficiency of the full wave rectifier is 81.1%. Next is the ripple factor. Same, the instantaneous AC component of the current we need to take out and we need to compare with the converted DC. The left out AC part comparing with the input and the converted DC. So this I RMS prime due to this left out AC, that will be 1 by 2s pi integration 0 to 2s pi I minus I DC square into d alpha. So same thing we can take out I square twice I IDC plus IDC square. So here this I RMS we know it is 1 by 2s pi integration 0 to 2s pi I square d alpha, and IDC which we have derived, it is 1 by 2s pi integration 0 to 2s pi I into d alpha. So this if we put here, this I prime RMS, it will be I RMS square minus twice IDC square plus IDC square therefore ripple factor will be so this I RMS by IDC we need to find out. I RMS is Im by root 2 and IDC is twice Im by pi. It is coming out as 1.11. So if we put over here, this ripple factor will be 1.11 square minus 1. It is coming out as 0.482. So it is quite lesser than the our half wave rectifier ripple factor, which is 1.21. So our efficiency is also higher and ripple factor is also low. So we can say yes, our full wave rectifier is quite efficient compared to the half wave rectifier. So another type of full wave rectifier, it is bridge rectifier. So analysis is same what we did, only the circuit configuration is different. So here we no need to take any step transformer, our normal transformer is sufficient. We are having a bridge configuration. So let us consider these are the different points between which our diodes are connected. This is the load which is in connected. From this load we will take out the output. So for our understanding, let us put the name for this diodes. This is D1, it is D2, D3, D4. Okay. So we'll have the input like this, V in, that is at this point secondary of the transformer. Input is, so depending upon the input our circuit will operate. So sometime this D1 will operate and sometime D1, D3 will operate, and for another half D4 and D2 will operate. So let us consider this A and B. This A point is positive for this positive half. So if this A point is positive, so this point is also positive. Let us give the name as node A, it is B, this node is C, this node is D. So first of all, if we consider, this is the secondary winding what we have. So this point is positive, it is negative. So if we consider this one is positive, so our D1 is having the forward bias. Our D1 will be having the forward bias, D4 is the reverse bias. So D1 will conduct and the current will flow in this RL. So when it will come again, D3 will have the positive polarity been connected with the P material of the diode. So this D3 will be again in the forward bias and it will again terminate into the negative point of the secondary winding. So in this way closed circuit will achieved or closed circuit is formed. So if we go with this part, so our D1 will be having the forward bias. Our D1 will have the forward bias like this, and it will again go through the load like this. Then when it will come here, this D3 will be having the forward bias. And it will again terminate to this transformer. So the current will flow like this. This is the voltage V1 been applied in the secondary winding for this positive half. So this current will flow like this. it will go and terminate to this negative polarity, or we can also connect some ground here which will be the same ground as the secondary of the transformer, so it will again terminate to this ground. We can write anyway. For the second half, when this part will be negative, this one will be positive. This diode D4, it is our D1, it is our D3. This diode D4 will have the negative, according to this one negative and this one positive. So this D4 will have the forward bias because cathode is connected with the negative polarity of the input. So we'll have this D4 as the forward bias D4, then it will go to the load, then here our D2 is there. This is the D2 because the current is flowing like this, or you can think of this point is positive, so this diode will have the positive polarity. It is our D2, this is our D4. So as this one is the positive, so this current will flow like this. Previously this is the direction of the current. Now this will be the direction. And it will terminate to the negative pole of the transformer. So this is all about the operation of the bridge rectifier. Okay. So the output, first of all this is due to the D1 and D3, so the current will be in the same direction. So if previously this one is the positive, this one is the negative, now also this one is the positive, this one is the negative. So we'll have, for this half we'll have the output same like this. This is the one half, this is another half, like this we'll have the output. So this half, it is due to D1 and D3, and this one will be for D2 and D4. This one is for D1, D3, this one will be D2, D4, and in this way it will goes on continue. Okay. This is all about the rectifier circuit. Next is Zener diode. So Zener diode is same as our normal PN junction diode, only the difference is that it can also work in the reverse bias. So if we go with the symbol or circuit symbol of the Zener diode, it is having something like this. This is P, this is N. So this straight line which signifying the N of the diode, it is having somewhat a shape of Z. It is having somewhat a shape of Z. That is only the differences in the circuit. So if we go with the characteristic diagram of this Zener diode, it is current, it is voltage. The forward characteristic is same, only it is having a reverse characteristic as well. So depending upon the doping concentration, it will either have Zener breakdown, it will either have the avalanche breakdown. Okay. So this is, let us consider this is our V gamma. This may be breakdown voltage or this may be breakdown voltage. Okay, so the main purpose of using or the main application of Zener diode is as voltage regulator. Zener voltage regulator. So there are different ways of regulating this voltage. So whenever we are having the regulation, we can have the fluctuation in the two parts. Two part means, let us consider, whenever you are using a household appliances, your power supply which has been coming from a power station, let us consider that power station may have some problem, and the power which has been given to some household for some purpose, it may have certain fluctuation. Means there is certain fluctuation in the power supply which has been given to certain appliances. So to save our appliances from that power fluctuation, we need to regulate the voltage. What does it mean? So let us consider if our appliances is been working very good with 220 voltage, so it needs a constant power supply or constant voltage supply of 220 volt throughout the operation. So it may get damaged if the power fluctuation is having a voltage dip beyond this to a certain extent. Let us consider if the voltage fluctuation is having a voltage dip up to 180 volt, our appliances may get damaged. So we need to use a regulator so that we can give a 220 constant voltage to that appliances throughout the application or throughout the period up to which we'll use our appliances. Or there may be fluctuation due to certain load which has been connected with that appliances. So let us consider a appliances or a you can say a refrigerator which has been operated with 220 volt. Let us consider it is having its internal resistance which is get damaged for some reason, and that damage is creating a problem by fluctuating the voltage which is been given to that appliances. Okay, so first thing, source is fluctuating. Second thing, the load around which our appliances is connected, that load may get damaged and it may give a varying load or varying resistance to that appliance. So whenever a load is connected, let us consider we are having a load around which certain appliances or this V out has been given to certain appliances, that RL if it is varying, so this V out will obviously vary. So that is what we don't want, because after that our appliances has been connected. So if this V out will vary, so this appliances may get damaged. That is one thing. So we need to take out this V out constant though our RL is varying. So that is one application of this Zener diode, to produce this V out constant, either this RL is varying or not. Another part, whatever the source is connected, let us consider some source, some DC source has been connected, that may also vary. So if this Vs is varying, so obviously this V out will vary, because some drop will coming across this RL, and that RL will have varying amount of current, and that varying amount of current will produce varying amount of voltage. So we need to have this V out constant throughout the operation, either our this supply varying, this voltage of this supply varying, or this load which has been connected, that is varying. So voltage regulation which has been used through this Zener diode, it is quite capable of producing voltage which has been regulated, or it is producing constant voltage. Okay, so first case which we will consider, that is our load, this RL is varying. So for that case, let us see how this voltage regulator is quite capable of producing constant voltage. Zener voltage regulator. So first one is fixed Vs. Vs means input and supply voltage, and variable RL. That is the first case. So what is the circuit diagram for this regulator, Zener voltage regulator, it is something like this. We'll have our input, a series resistance is there, then Zener diode is connected in parallel to the load, which is varying. This RL is varying. This is our series resistance, this is the supply voltage. So our VL, we need to consider this VL to be fixed. We need to find out, or we need to have this VL should be fixed though our load resistance is varying. So you will always remember this regulation will only be found, or this Zener will work as a voltage regulator only when this Zener diode is operated in the reverse bias breakdown region, because in the forward bias this Zener diode is working same as the normal P junction diode. So this regulation is only been achieved from this Zener diode when this Zener diode is worked as a in the breakdown region. So whenever this breakdown is occur, the voltage across the Zener diode will remain fixed, though how much current is been flowing through this diode. Okay, the voltage is remain fixed in the breakdown region because that is the breakdown voltage of the Zener diode, but there may be a large amount of current which can flow through the Zener diode. So that is what the main characteristics to be used for the regulator. So whenever we are having the breakdown from this Zener diode, we can put any amount of current through this Zener diode. So if the voltage remain fixed and current can be any amount, so extra current which is creating the variation in the output voltage, that can be passed through or bypassed through this Zener diode. That can be easily bypassed through this Zener diode. So let us consider when this RL was 1K, 1 ampere of current is been flowing. Now when this RL is become 2K, we need to have VL fixed. So when it was 1K and 1 ampere, let us consider 1 milliampere, it is having 1 volt. So that is what the output voltage we want always for our secure operation of the appliances, 1 voltage. Now whenever this RL is changed from 1K to 2K, we need to put that amount of current so that this VL is remain fixed. So obviously our current needs to be decreased. So decreased amount of current will be 0.5 milliamps. So extra amount of current will now flow through this Zener diode. That is what the purpose is. So whenever any requirement of bypassing the current, the Zener diode will capable of carrying extra current through it because it is working under the reverse bias breakdown condition. Okay. When the diode is in breakdown region, that is, this VL will simply become as VZ because it is under breakdown region. The voltage around this Zener diode is fixed, that is VZ, Zener voltage. So as this RL is connected in parallel with this Zener diode, so obviously the voltage across this RL will be fixed whatever the value of RL it is, because a voltage source is connected with this RL. So obviously the voltage on this node will become same. So we can write VL will become VZ. However, if the load resistance RL is less than a certain value, RL mean, the voltage VL will become IL into RL mean. Okay, because that is the current is been flowing through this RL. So we need to manipulate this IL to have this VL constant throughout across the load. Load VL across the load may become less than Vz. Obviously, if RL, let us consider for our normal circuit analysis, if RL is decreasing, so this ILRL, which is VL, it may become less than this Vz because our RL is decreasing. Vz, which implies that diode is not in its operating region. So what does it mean? Let us consider our diode is not at all in the breakdown region. Our diode is not in the breakdown region. So if it is not in the breakdown region, so what does it mean? It is around in this region. So its Vz will change, and the current which has been flowing through this diode, it is very less. So if our RL is varying before breakdown, so it may have the condition that VL is also become less than our Vz. So to produce or to achieve breakdown, we need to give a certain voltage, which is breakdown voltage, to this Zener diode. So that breakdown voltage has been coming through the load voltage, because this load current which has been flowing through this RL, the drop which is IL into RL, this VL should be is equals to Vz. If VL, let us consider our Vz is 6 volt. So if load voltage is also 6 volt, then we can say yes, 6 volt is applied across the diode, and it is already in the breakdown region. Now extra amount of current can flow through this Zener diode. But before that, if the load voltage is not sufficient to put Zener diode into the breakdown, then this Zener diode is not operated as a regulator. So our first thing to ensure is that we need to have the Zener diode in the breakdown region, and it has been ensuring by the load which has been connected. Once this Zener diode is in the breakdown region, then we can change our load, then it will have the extra current which has been flowing through this Zener diode. Now for example, let us consider this RL is 0. For considering for a certain case, if RL is 0, which is short circuited, so obviously VL is 0. So for that case, the Zener diode will not be in the breakdown region, or it will never be in the breakdown region, because this VL is not at all putting this Zener diode into the breakdown region. Okay. So in order to maintain a constant voltage across this load, the load resistance for across this load means if the load is varying, for this case we must have to maintain a minimum value of RL, of the load resistance, to ensure the Zener diode operated at the breakdown region. Understand? So because first of all we must need to ensure the Zener diode should be in the breakdown region. So how we are ensuring that? We need to use a certain load so that that load voltage is capable of putting Zener diode into the breakdown region. So once your Zener diode is in the breakdown region, then once your Zener diode is in the breakdown region, then it will operate as a regulator. In order to maintain a constant voltage VL across the load resistance, for different values of RL, we must have to maintain a minimum value RL mean of the load resistance to ensure that the Zener diode operated at the breakdown region. So let us start the analysis. So let us consider for this circuit diagram the Thevenin voltage which is been applied across the Zener diode. Let applied to the Zener diode is VTH. The load current, that is the load current IL, it is series current IS, it is the Zener current IZ. So this IL will be same as IS when Zener diode is open circuit. When it will be open circuit? When it is not at all in the breakdown region. So IL is equals to IS, which is VS by RL plus RS. When the diode is open circuited. So therefore the Thevenin voltage which is applied across this diode, VTH, it is IL into RL, that is VS RL by RL plus RS. Now when this diode will be in the breakdown region? When this VTH is greater than or is equals to VZ. The breakdown voltage of this diode is the VZ. So this VTH which has been applied across the Zener diode, that VTH is capable to put this Zener diode into the breakdown region when this VTH is greater than or is equals to VZ. Now the diode will be in the breakdown region only when VTH is greater than or is equals to VZ. So therefore for breakdown, this VS RL by RL plus RS, it should be greater than or is equals to VZ. So what will be this RL, that we need to maintain? That should be greater than or is equals to RS VZ by VS minus VZ, which is equals to RL mean, which we need to connect in a load to have the breakdown from the Zener diode. So this equation, the above equation, ensures that for any value of RL greater than RL mean, will ensure the operation of the Zener diode in the breakdown region. So any value of RL which is greater than RL means, so what is that? RS VZ minus by VS minus VZ. So any value Above this, it will ensure the Zener diode is in the breakdown region. Now let IL, IS and IZ be the current passing through RL, RS and Zener diode respectively. The current flowing through the load that is IL is equals to VL by RL. So here if VL is equals to VZ, it will ensure the Zener diode operated in the breakdown region. Indicates Zener diode is in the breakdown region. The current IS, it is the series current, it is IZ plus IL. Which is equals to VS minus VL by RS. So what will be this IZ? IZ will be IS minus IL. So we know the value of IS, that is VS minus VL by RS, and IL is VL by RL. Now for VL is equals to VZ, in this case if we have been considering VL is equals to VZ, which implies increase in RL will result in the decrease in load current. Okay, if this, what we know about this IL is VL by RL. So here if VL is equals to VZ, so it implies the increase in RL should leads to decrease in the current IL, because our VZ will remain fixed. The breakdown voltage of the diode will remain fixed. VL is equals to VZ means breakdown voltage. The diode is in the breakdown, so the breakdown voltage is fixed. After that, whatever the current, it will not change. Implies that the increase in RL will result in the decrease in IL and vice versa. So this IL, it will be either is equals to or less than VZ by RL mean. So if RL mean is used, that's supposed to increase in the current, that is IL max. So this IL max, when RL mean is applied, it is the maximum Zener current corresponding to the minimum value of the load current. But this load is sufficient to have the BZ. That is what we must need to consider. So if IL max is there, which is equals to IL, what we need to understand, that IZ mean is there. Means to make our VL constant, if IL is increasing, so IZ must need to decrease, because this IS is fixed. The source current, the supply which is been connected, that provided the same amount of current and it is constant because our Vs is constant. So for some reason, if RL is decreased, so obviously IL will increase, and to have this IS fixed, our IZ must need to decrease. So that is what IZ mean. If IL become IL max, so our IZ will be the minimum, that is IS minus IL max, which represents the minimum Zener current at the onset of the breakdown region. Now this IZ max or IZ mean, that is been specified by the manufacturer, and it will be available in the data sheet. That is what it is already been specified for a certain Zener diode. This IZ max and IZ mean, all those things. So if let us consider this IZ max is the maximum operating current, and it has been provided by the data sheet of a particular Zener diode. So this IL, it is the difference of IS minus IZ. IS we know, so IZ max, it will give us the IL mean. So this is the condition. So we can say if IZ max and IZ mean is already been specified by the manufacturer, so for a certain supply voltage, IS will be fixed, so our IL will become changing, or due to the change in the load resistance, this IL will change and it will correspond to the maximum and minimum value of the Zener current. But this mean and maximum is ensuring that the Zener diode is in the breakdown region. If it is not in the breakdown region, then it is not possible to have this IL max and IL mean. So if we have been achieved our RL mean for the IL max, so we can also take out this RL max for a particular IZ mean or IL mean, that is VZ. We must need to write VZ, because after breakdown region, the VZ, it is same as the load, or load is same as the VZ, that is our IL mean. All those things ensuring, or all those things is achieved, IL max or IL mean for a RL mean or RL max, that is only been possible after the breakdown. That is only possible after the breakdown. So whenever breakdown is occurring, for changing of RL, this IL is also changing, that leads to the change into the Zener diode. Same for a maximum value of RL, IL will decrease, that leads to the maximum value of the IZ. So in this way, the regulation is achieved due to the load resistance which is changed. Next one is the fixed RL. Now our RL is fixed, but our supply is variable. Fixed RL and variable Vs. Now our source is varying. So what does it mean? Source is varying means our Is is varying. This Vs is varying. This is Rs, it is R. So what we have understood, that VTH, the Thevenin voltage across the Zener diode, it must be greater than or is equals to Vz. It must be greater than or is equals to Vz. So what is this Thevenin voltage? It is the drop across this RL, that is RL Vs by RL plus Rs. It must be greater than or is equals to Vz. Now let us take out this Vs from this equation. So to ensure this Vz to be in the breakdown region, what is supposed to be our Vs? Vs must be greater than or is equals to Rs plus RL by RL into Vz, and that can be the minimum of that which is ensuring the breakdown. So what is this Vs mean? Vs mean is the minimum DC voltage required to turn on the Zener diode, into the breakdown region. That's supposed to be the minimum voltage. Now for Vs greater than is equals to Vs mean, which is ensuring the breakdown, the increase in Vs will result in the increase in the Zener current. Why? Because this load current is fixed, this Is is changing. So Vs increase means Is increase. So this IL will be fixed, but Iz will now increase, because the extra amount of current will obviously flow through this Zener diode. Will increase the Zener current Iz since IL is constant. So this implies that maximum limiting value Vs max of the Vs for which Zener diode will work satisfactorily can be obtained by using the condition for which Zener current is maximum. Okay, so whenever Vs max is there, we need to work with a maximum current of Zener diode, which is Iz max. So what we can write, that Is max, it is for increasing the supply voltage, that leads to Iz max, and IL is fixed. So for Vs is equals to Vs max and Is is equals to Is max, for this circuit diagram, if we apply the KVL for this circuit diagram, what we can find out? Vs max is equals to Rs into Is max plus Vz. Load current remain constant for all values of Vs, because our RL is not able to change. Vs will remain same. So that is what the regulation is all about, that we have achieved the regulated voltage. So let us analyze the circuit. Okay, it is not required, because this equation is giving us the indication that yes, our Iz will be changing, because as Vs is changing, now here we must need to ensure that Vs which is changing, it must need to put this Vz into the breakdown. So how it will put, if our Vs mean it up to this much, if our Vs mean which is up to this much, then only our generator is in the breakdown region, and with increasing Vs, Is will increase, Il our fixed, so Iz is in the Iz will increase. So Is max will make our Iz max, but for the previous case, when IL max was achieved, Iz mean will be there, because Is was fixed. Any doubt anyone up to this?